Hello, everybody, and we're back for another episode. We had a little bit of some issues the day before, different days of trying to get this one going, but we're going all right so far, so we should be fine. Anyways, we are into round two now of the NBA playoffs. If you didn't tell us what we're going to be doing today. um, So we're in round two right now, but also we've already had quite a few NBA awards announced for different players. So we're going to go over all the award finalists and who won, since over half of them have already been announced. I think the only two that haven't been named are Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. Other than that, everything else has been named. MVP was just announced today. So we'll start with the oldest ones that were announced. The first one that was announced was the Sixth Man of the Year, and the finalists were Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, who ironically both are from the Utah Jazz, and our very own Derrick Rose, who's now a New York Knick, but he was a Piston for some time. And Jordan Clarkson won it. I didn't really pay too much attention to the stats to really know how these guys did, but the Jazz have been very good this year. Jordan Clarkson took over when Donovan Mitchell got hurt and was really good. Yeah, and next one was the Most Improved Award, which had our very own Jeremy Grant, who had a really good season. I mean, when we first signed Jeremy Grant, I really thought it was a complete waste of money. I mean, we signed him for 3 years, and I think it was like 20 million. I'm like, okay, the guy's good. He's not that good. What the heck are we doing? And then he does this, and I'm like, okay, I guess that makes it a little more worthwhile. But Jeremy Grant had an incredible season. Michael Porter Jr. was also on this list. Denver Nugget. He's had a lot of injury history, but when he's playing, he's been very good for the Denver Nuggets, and this year was no exception. He had another really good season, and he just continues to get more and more dangerous. He really showed up in the bubble. Actually, last year I believe was when he started to really show himself, and he really showed out again this year. But this was Julius Randle's award to lose. He obviously won. Julius Randle, New York Knick, power forward, just an incredible transformation. Guy was a average player. He was having a decent career, and then all of a sudden this year he turns into a perennial all star. No one knows where that came from. I think that was the obvious choice for most improved. Jeremy Grant had a really good year, but it was nothing compared to what Julius Randle did. Hmm. Yeah, really nicely done by Julius Randle. Really an incredible season for him. Well deserving for the Most Improved award, and Coach of the Year, I'd say, would be very well deserved too. The Coach of the Award finalists were Quinn Snyder of the Jazz, Tom Thibodeau of the Knicks, and Monty Williams of the Suns. And Tom Thibodeau won it for the New York Knicks. Now, I would say that Monty Williams had a really good shot at winning this one. I mean, so did Quinn Snyder, but I thought Monty Williams would win this. I mean, you're looking at a Phoenix Suns team that had been out of the playoffs, just like the Knicks, but have been out of the playoffs for a very long time. And then here comes one year, Monty Williams leads them to the number 2 seed in the West, and their first time in the playoffs in a seriously long time. Granted, Tom Thibodeau did the exact same thing, ended a 7 year drought for the New York Knicks and gave him a winning record for a season, but I think Monty Williams should have won it. Either way, it was still a well done job by Tom Thibodeau getting the Knicks winning record and a number 4 seed in the East. Not that that was too hard. The East did not really have a lot of great teams behind a top heavy three, but other than that, I got nothing else to say. Wait, you got anything to comment here, Sam? Hmm. Yeah, this was, of course, as Sam just said, this was actually Thibodeau's second time winning the NBA Coach of the Year. And the other award that was announced, that one was actually just announced today, was the MVP. And I thought after the Warriors lost in the NBA play-in round that it was pretty inevitable that Nikola Jokic would win the MVP, and he did. And he became the lowest drafted player ever to win the MVP, as he was drafted 41st, I believe it was, in the NBA draft. And I think the lowest draft pick to ever win an MVP was 15th or something like that. I don't exactly know what the exact number was, but it was very low. And Nikola Jokic. Hmm? Yeah, big time, pretty big time there. But yeah, with the way that Nikola Jokic had been playing all season long, and even after Jamal Murray got hurt and tore his ACL, he still was just incredible. And he's been leading the Nuggets since day one. I mean, they were a 3 seed. They just beat the Trailblazers in 6 games. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here, but. A very good season for Nikola Jokic and a very impressive one at that. Any thoughts, Sam? Hmm. Well, with a 350-pound frame, I don't see why he wouldn't. Yeah, just to put in perspective, me and Sam, both in our high school days, we played center. We both went to very small schools. Sam just said he was 5'10". I'm 6'2". Or, well, no, I'm 6'3" now. But in high school, I was about 6'2". That was tall for a center at our school. Just put in perspective, Nikola Jokic is 6'11". So, yeah, we went to small schools. That's not the average height for an actual center. It's probably about 6'10" or 6 or maybe even 7 foot for a center. Who knows? But we went to very small schools. We 6'2", like I said, was like way above average for our schools. But yeah. So we only got two left. These have not been announced yet. So we'll basically just make our prediction for who we think will win. Not that I really have paid attention to these at all. So I'll just pick whoever I like better. But the rookie of the year and defensive player of the year, these two have not been announced yet. I'll just go over rookie of the year right now, which is LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, and Tyrese Halliburton. LaMelo Ball was a number 3 pick. He's a Charlotte Hornet, obviously, point guard. Um, I hate the balls, so I probably won't be going with LaMelo Ball here. But I do think with the way that LaMelo Ball's been playing, I think he might be most likely to win it. Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves, number 1 pick, of course, out of Georgia. He's had a very nice season. He had a bit of a slow start, but he picked it up very quickly and ended the season on a very high note. And the last one on this list is Tyrese Halliburton, who was a later pick at Iowa State, not expected to do too well. People thought he would not turn out in the NBA, and he did the exact opposite. I'd love to see him win the Rookie of the Year, but as much as I hate to say it, I'll go back and what I just said. I'm gonna go with LaMelo Ball to win this one. I think they like the balls a lot, and they'll be taking LaMelo Ball because that's something the NBA would do. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you look at the shoe brand that was a big baller brand or whatever it is for that LeVar Ball's company or whatever, and it costs like $500 to buy a shoe. It just is ridiculous. It's like you're asking us to pay $500 for your special big baller brand shoe, and I can just go ahead and buy the newest like KD shoe from Nike for like 200. Not that I would buy either one of those, but getting a KD brand new KD shoe is like half the price of yours. So why would I even bother looking at yours? Or be rich. Yeah, and the last one on here is Defensive Player of the Year. We're taking a little longer than I thought with this, but whatever, it is what it is. But Defensive Player of the Year is the finalists are Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, and Ben Simmons. Now, all of these are obvious. All three of these are obviously very are known for their defensive capabilities. Draymond Green, I haven't seen on a Defensive Player of the Year list in a seriously long time. Uh, Something about Draymond Green, actually. I forget how many years ago this was, but Draymond Green was in a time of period when he was really struggling with the Warriors, and on TNT, Charles Barkley came out and was like, "Well, Draymond Green isn't talking too much anymore now that he's averaging a triple single." Anyways, oh yeah, well, who doesn't like Chuck? He's amazing. The son of him, Shaq, and Kenny the Jet with Ernie Johnson are just an absolute hysterical group. They're awesome to listen to. Because they crack so much jokes all the time, especially Charles Barkley. like it, even during the or not the NBA Finals, the Final Four, and at the at NCAA with Baylor and Houston at halftime. So what's Houston saying in their locker room right now? So what time we going home tomorrow? He's just a crack up. I love him. Anyways, Defensive Player of the Year: Rudy Gobert, Ben Simmons, Draymond Green. As I really said earlier, I haven't really paid attention. I haven't paid attention at all to how these guys have been doing, but I've heard more about Draymond Green, I guess. So let's go with Draymond Green. Him or Rudy Gobert. No, you know what? Here, I'll go with Rudy Gobert. Playing with the Jazz, he's a top team. Once again, I feel like that'd be an NBA thing to do. Give the guy who's on the best team in the league right now the award. So I'll just go with Rudy Gobert. Guy always tends to do. He's a really good defender. Basically, is the only thing he is good at doing. But he's done a really good job. I would say I'd go with Gobert. Hmm? Yeah, well, all right, and that'll be it for the award finalists. Wow, that took way longer than I thought. um, Yeah, only about 20 minutes, But so we'll go on to our round one discussions. We're only just going to briefly kind of go through this. We can get to our predictions at the end, which will be of round two, of course. So we'll just start with the 1-8 game in the East, which was the 76ers and the Washington Wizards. Now, the Sixers won this in 5 games. Not really much a surprise. This is what me and Sam both said in our first video. If you have not watched that, go ahead and watch it now. But but me and Sam both picked the 76ers in 5 games. I figured Washington would at least be able to sneak one out. They did, and then that was it. Not really a whole lot to say because it was exactly what I thought would happen.
came back on Wednesday, ended the series with a 129-112 victory, and moved them on to the second round of the playoffs.
Yep. And the 2-7 game we'll go in the East was the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. Once again, no one. We both picked the Nets in 5, so we expected exactly what happened. Boston, they didn't have the firepower. They had struggled all year long. Then they lost Jaylen Brown. It wasn't working for them ever the entire year. And then you add on to the fact that they lost one of their big all stars. Makes it a little difficult to win. First of all, when you're struggling the entire year, and second of all, when you lose one of your best players.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Jason Tatum was the only saving grace for the Nets or not the Nets. I'm sorry, the Celtics. He was the only saving grace for the Celtics in the playoffs this year. When they won both playing games, when Tatum had 50 points. So unless he had a formula to just get Jason Tatum to 50 points every single game, they were not moving on in the next round. Because the Nets just have way too much firepower. Because they had Harden in the whole series, Durant and Irving. Harden went off in game 5. He had a triple double, 34, 10, 10. And that sealed the deal for the Nets. They won 123 to 109 in game 5. And they got to move on to the playoffs.
Yep, and they'd be playing the winner of the 3-6 series actually in the East, which I'm blacking out here. Oh, which was the Milwaukee Bucks and Miami Heat. Now, I did not see the Milwaukee Bucks sweeping the Miami Heat, but that's exactly what they did. The only thing I can really assume is the Heat are a 1-year wonder, because that really came out of nowhere. I expected this to be very close. And I think really that first game when Miami took the Bucks to overtime and came up short was really when the entire series changed. I mean, you look at that game, Miami fought hard. They struggled shooting, but so did Milwaukee. They had them on the ropes. They couldn't finish it out. And then from that point forward, it was just ugly. Miami could not shoot at all in any of the other games, and the Bucks just blew them out every single time.
Mm-hmm. The Bucks outplayed them in every facet of the series. Besides game 1, it was close and competitive. This series was done in literally 1 week, Saturday, May 22nd to Saturday, May 29th. The Bucks just wiped the floor with the Heat once they met on the court every single time after game 1. They figured out what the Heat wanted to do, and they just took it away from them. The Heat, they're a three-point shooting team. The Heat couldn't make a shot anyway, but the Bucks took away any open shots that were even tried for. But Giannis, star player of this series, he had a triple double in the last game, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, and the Bucks won that one in 4 game sweep. I'm pretty sure, yeah, neither of us predicted this one. I know I thought it was going to be a lot closer in the series, as a lot of people probably did after that first game. But the Bucks moved on with a 120-103 win in game 4, and they moved on to the second round to play the Nets. But we'll go to the 4-5 series first.
Yeah, I think I know I had Bucks in 7. I don't know what you had. I think you had Bucks in 6, but either way, yeah, no, neither of one of us predicted a sweep. And the last series in the East was 4-5, as Sam just said, which was the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. And the Hawks took this one in 5 games. Now, I expected this to be actually really competitive. Sam took the Knicks in 7, I took the Hawks in 7. I thought it could go either way, and the Hawks really just dominated. I think the main issue here was for the Knicks that Julius Randle was not the Julius Randle that got him that got him the most improved. Julius Randle did not exist, and that really killed him the entire series because that's really what has led the New York Knicks to where they are now. It led them to the playoffs. It led them to how well they had been playing, and when he did not do anything, it really it put a stinger on the, for the Knicks. They could never recover. And well, of course, it also helps that Trey Young is with the Hawks and always shooting like 30 shots and making a good amount of them. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Julius Randle did not exist, but Trae Young has certainly been existing for the Hawks in this playoffs. He got them through 5 games. Of course, Mitchell said I had the Knicks in 7, he had the Hawks in 7. We thought this was going to be a back and forth series. But with the absence of Julius Randle and then Trae Young really outperforming the opponents, outperforming himself even, just showing what he can do with 36 points, 4 rebounds, and 9 assists to finish off the Knicks in the last game, 103-89 in 5 games. Really thought this was just going to be back and forth, but it wasn't. It just didn't pan out that way because Trae Young decided to be Trae Young. Just taking all those shots and making at least
All of them.
at least all of them. At least. I mean, he's turned out to be a lot better of a player in the NBA than I thought. I just thought he was going to be a one-hit wonder because he was pretty good in college, and then he probably just like the average pan out in the NBA. But the way he can take over a game has really made himself known in the NBA, especially in this playoff this year.
Yeah, I'm personally am not a big fan of Trey Young because of just the amount of shots he takes. I mean, he takes so many shots. I mean, yeah, he gets a lot of assists too, but he takes like 40, 50 shots every game and then makes about like 30% of them. It's like, okay, you can pass the ball, you can give it to other people. Other people can shoot it better than you. You don't have to take everything. But I will give him credit. He's like number two in assists in the NBA right now, so there is that. But he still takes a lot of shots. That's why I'm not a Westbrook fan either. Hmm?
Just learning from James Harden.
Yeah. So now we'll head over to the West Side, which will go 1-8, which was the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz. Sam took the Jazz in 5 after they lost game 1 without Donovan Mitchell. I took him in 6. I figured it'd take maybe a game or maybe even 2. I figured this would be a game that they would recuperate and then come back to life. Well, Sam was right. They went 4 games, easy money. But not really too much of a surprise. Everyone knew that they would beat the Grizzlies. It was just a matter of would it be how many games it was. Would Donovan Mitchell be up to full strength right away, or will it take him a game to shake off the rust? And I figured that'd be the case. Apparently not. They won 5. Big surprise. Any thoughts, Sam?
Yep. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell just gave them the motivation they needed to come back and play at full strength pretty much. The rest of the team, that's where they feed off Donovan Mitchell. I'm really sure of that. They feed Donovan Mitchell, his play, his tenacity, and whenever he plays well, the Jazz play really well. And they are one of the top teams in the NBA for sure. Whenever Mitchell is on the court, whenever you're on the court, Mitchell, I always have to make that joke because Donovan Mitchell, Mitchell Gross, it just goes together. And I really think you could have been Donovan Mitchell in the NBA. But that's another story. That's another story. Donovan Mitchell played really well in the last game and overall in the entire series. You saw, I believe it was game 3. Memphis actually was really close in that game, running down the last couple minutes, but the Jazz were just too overwhelming for the Grizzlies, even with the Grizzlies at home. Mitchell just dominated the entire rest of the series when he got back in. And he had 30 points, 6 rebounds, and assists when they were in that game 5 to win the Grizzlies with a 126-110 win.
Yeah, and the Jazz, of course, right now are currently they're actually missing Mike Conley right now. I believe Mike Conley is hurt. Uh, but right now they're also playing the LA Clippers, which we'll get to their series in a second here. But they're playing the LA Clippers right now in what is actually game 1 of the Clippers and Utah Jazz series, which is currently 60-47. The LA Clippers lead at halftime. So maybe a bit surprising there. But yeah, no one was surprised to see that the Jazz won. Maybe people were surprised it was 5 games, but whatever. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns and LA Lakers. This surprised me. The Suns were incredible in this series, and they knocked off the Lakers in 6. They had no issue doing it either. They lost 2 games, but they knocked out LeBron with ease, and that's scary. If the Suns can knock out LeBron like that, that's a problem. Obviously, of course, they lost Anthony Davis for a little bit of that series, but that was really impressive by the Phoenix Suns to take in 6. I had the Lakers in 7. Sam actually had the Suns in 7, so he had it right. I did not. Well,
Oh,
I
I had the
mean,
Suns in 6.
yeah, Suns won in 6, but you still had the Phoenix Suns. You were right
No,
that
I
the
said the
Suns would.
Suns in 6.
Huh?
I said the Suns in 6. I remember.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. All right. Well,
Okay. Go back
but
and check the last video. See which one of us is right.
yeah, comment down below. But anyways, Suns 1 and 6. I was really impressed. Well done, Sorbenski. Your Phoenix Suns are really looking sharp. And like I said, we'll be doing predictions in a second here for the round 2 games. Any thoughts, Sam?
Yeah. Devin Booker really showed up for the Suns all series long. Game 1, and especially in Game 6, 47 points, 11 boards, only 3 assists. When you're racking up 47 points, somebody else is probably getting the assists too, I would imagine, unless you really are just taking the ball all by yourself, which the Suns don't seem like they're that kind of team, led by Chris Paul and the likes of others. Good job by the Suns. I'm really happy that the Lakers are out. I'm so happy that the Lakers are out. I really do not like the Lakers. So that is my take in that game. They won 113-100 in Game 6, and they moved on to play the winner of this next series we're going to talk about.
Which will be the Portland Trailblazers and the Denver Nuggets, and they'll be taking it on the Denver Nuggets because the Nuggets won it in 6 games. Really, for the Portland Trailblazers, they fired Terry Stotts, so he is now gone as the Portland head coach. We'll do like coaching changes basically as we go. We'll start them next week. So we'll have our own little column on like the coaching carousel in the NBA because I think 3 teams have an opening right now. Because Boston, Brad Stevens got moved up to the front office, and then the Magic coach got fired, and so did obviously Terry Stotts. But for the Trailblazers, I really think their issue is they need to get Damian Lillard help. Yes, they have CJ McCollum, but when was the last time you saw CJ McCollum actually have a good game? That was like never ago. Seriously, the guy, he has not been very good for the Trailblazers. He's been seriously struggling. This was a nice combo 3 years ago. Now McCollum is continuing to regress, and Damian Lillard has no one else on that team that can really help him. And I know people will start saying, well, they have Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony is 38, 39 years old. It's the carcass of Carmelo Anthony already. But the Portland Trailblazers, they just need to get Lillard help. That should be their main focus this offseason. Whether that means I really think trading away CJ McCollum would really help out this team. Maybe you get like a decent veteran piece for him, and then you draft a young guy and hope he develops because right now it's not working.
Mm-hmm. The definition of be trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. This is what the Trailblazers have done for 7 years now with Terry Stotts as their head coach. They have tried the Lillard McCollum combination, throwing some other players in there and expecting different results. You have got literally pretty much the same results every single year. Round 1 or round 2 exits. That's great if you want to just go to the playoffs every year and be happy, just go to the playoffs. But I'm pretty sure that people in Portland want to win a championship sooner than later. But the Trailblazers, they're going to have a lot to go around, find a new coach and everything. But really, I don't know. I feel like they do. I feel like you're right. They do need to start building around Lillard, whether that's trading McCollum for a couple more key role players, it's just got to be something different because it'll just turn into an LA Clipper situation where they just had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and they tried doing that over and over and over again. Maybe it'll work this year. Maybe it'll work this year. That is literally the definition of insanity. So if you don't want to be insane, try something different.
Yeah, but obviously, of course, in this series, the Denver Nuggets, which, as we mentioned earlier, they don't have Jamal Murray. So the Trailblazers lost to a Denver Nuggets team that only has the Joker and then Michael Porter Jr., but they're missing one of their best players in that series, and they still lost to them in 6 games.
And I think I picked the Trailblazers this series.
We
Do you
both
remember our
did.
picks?
We
Yeah,
both
we
did in
both.
6 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So,
one was
yeah, definitely surprising.
picking the Trailblazers.
What?
Maybe we're the insane ones for picking the Trailblazers then.
Maybe so. And speaking of the LA Clippers, new look LA Clippers, but the LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks, this is our last series before we go into predictions for round two. But the LA Clippers took this one in a crazy series with the Dallas Mavericks in 7 games. This was incredibly fun to watch. I knew it'd be incredibly fun, and I held my hope out that the Clippers would win, and they did. But a very unique start to this series with the road team winning the first 6 games in the series. The home team did not win for the first 6 games, and then the Clippers won Game 7 at home. But the first 6 games were all won by the road team. And really, I think the day that this entire narrative changed for the Clippers was like halftime in the third game when they were down like 20 points or whatever it was. They were down 20 or 19 points at halftime in game 3. And then you look at what happened after that, and it's just a dramatic change. Obviously, they lost the first 2 games at home when Dallas shot above 50% in both games. And then you look at halftime and on from game 3, and it's a 4-1 series for the Clippers where they just pretty much dominated Dallas the entire way. So obviously, I think Game 3 was really when this series took a 180 for the Clippers. They end up pulling it off. They end up walking away with a round 1 win and a chance at knocking off the number 1 seed in the West with the Utah Jazz. But really fun series, exactly what I expected, and I picked the Clippers in 7. So yay to me.
My darn Mavericks can't get over the hump of the Clippers. Yes, it's been past 2 years now. They lost last year in the bubble, and I think that one was in 6. And then they lost this year with a 3-2 series lead. All you gotta do is win one of those last 2 games. You don't have to win both. That's what the Clippers did, though. Won both. Um, really, what it came down to, I think, is more so experience more than anything. You got the Mavericks, who have they're a pretty young team. They got Doncic, they got Porzingis, who's been in the league a few years now, but he's still relatively young. Porzingis, Marjanovic, Marjanovic is more of a bench player. I just really like him, so I'm just gonna name him off every time. But you got a relatively young team in the Mavericks. They're still building, looking to get better. Um, and they took a veteran team, the Clippers, right to the brink, and the Clippers passed the test. Passed the test for sure. Uh, Leonard stood out. Doncic stood out. The series, really a fun series to watch. Best series of the first round by far. The only one that went to 7 games too. Um, really just a great back and forth matchup. Uh, Kawhi Leonard almost hitting a triple double in the last game of the series. 28 points, 10 boards, 9 assists. Just 46 points that game. He had about 40 points every other game in the series, I believe. Usually when they won, when he got 40 points, and then the Clippers found out that Doncic couldn't win the game all by himself. So once they forced the other players to play, that's really when the Clippers found their way to win the series after they figured out the first 2 games, which I had gotten really happy after the Mavericks had won those first two games. They made it look pretty clear, but the Clippers ended up taking this one in seven. Won the last one pretty handily, 126 111, and they moved on to play the Jazz. And so let's talk about that second round.
Yeah, before we do that though, something that I heard about Luka Doncic in his second quarter stats compared to his fourth quarter stats. So his shooting percentage in the second quarter is 61%. Obviously, very good. But then you all of a sudden go to the fourth quarter. His shooting percentage goes all the way down to 31%. So obviously something happens between that halftime and that between those quarters in the third. I don't know if it's just getting tired of trying to carry the whole team himself or what the case might be, but obviously something was happening there. But as Sam said, moving on to round two predictions, we only got four series to go over, so this should be a lot easier. And well, since this game already ended today, we'll go with the Atlanta Hawks and Philly 76ers as I'm seeing highlights of the recent Sixers win today. For this series, I it's more of what Hawks team shows up because the Atlanta Hawks are basic. They're either hot or they're cold. There is no middle for this team. They'll shoot like almost 60% for one game, or they'll shoot almost like 30% for one game. It really depends what Hawks team you get. And to me, I think the Hawks can give the Sixers a run for their money, but I think they'll come up just short. I think it'll be a fun series, so I'll take the Sixers in 7 games.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to take the Sixers as well. Yeah, it did shock me in the way that the Hawks played that first game. They were really hot. They almost actually gave away the first game to the Sixers. That was pretty crazy. It was Sunday. It was the first game of Sunday before the first round of that wrapped up, and the Hawks seemed like they were in pretty couple turnovers. Philadelphia was right back in it. Made a 2 point game. About 15 seconds left. Hit a couple clutch free throws down the end. The Hawks did. Made it a 4 point game. So they just couldn't come back from that. But Joel Embiid is going to have to be the impact player in the series. I think the Sixers will get it done in six. I believe the Sixers will get it done in six. Today he had 40 points, 13 rebounds, a couple assists. So Joel Embiid will be the key to the series. If he didn't do that well in the first game, he really outperformed himself in the second game with 40 points.
All right, moving on to the other semifinal in the East, which of course is the Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this prediction would have sounded a lot bolder at the beginning of this series, but this is what I actually was going to say before the first two games happened, and that was Nets in five. Now, that does sound still probably like a really bold prediction for a series that's expected to be as close as many people thought it would be. But you really look at these two teams. Obviously, you look at the Brooklyn Nets. They have a resurging Blake Griffin. You got James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. That in and of itself is very hard to stop. But then you look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday is a decent player. He's a okay shooter at most. Chris Middleton does all the shooting for the Milwaukee Bucks, and Giannis is not a shooter at all. Milwaukee is not really a shooting team. And then you look at who the Nets have. They'll probably put Kevin Durant on. They'll probably throw Kevin Durant on Giannis or maybe even Chris Middleton,
Or
which
even Brook Lopez.
I doubt it'll be Brooke Lopez, but that'll probably be Blake Griffin's job.
Sure.
But either way, you throw Kevin Durant on either one of those guys, and you know what's going to happen. They're not scoring that entire game, so they're going to lose a key contributor one way or another, which is really going to kill the Bucks in this series, whether it's Chris Middleton or Giannis Antetokounmpo. If it's Middleton, it might have a problem as well. We just saw the Bucks get blown out by almost 40 in their last game against the Nets, so they're not looking too sharp. But yeah, even before the series started, I had Nets in five. I'm sticking with Nets in five. What's your prediction for this one?
Soon as that swing, I saw the first two games. I was like, what? I will go Nets in four. I think Bucks will not have any answer really to the Nets. I don't know a team that will as of right now. It really uh, the Bucks versus. I really think it's going to come down to like you were saying about how Durant defends so well. How can the Bucks combat that? Because really, the Bucks have a couple of really good players, and then some role players. Whereas the Nets have all even with 5 stars, star players on the bench. That is this Nets team is. I don't know if many people even realize that. That is how good this Nets team is. So I'm going to go Nets in four.
All right, so Sam's going with the sweep of the Brooklyn Nets, and actually in the second game of the series for the Nets and the Bucks, Middleton's stat line for the game was 7 of 20. So, yeah, obviously that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last series is, or no, we got two series left. I'm sorry. Uh, we'll just
Unless
go
you want to
over
go another bang.
yeah, we'll just skip one. But the current series going on right now, which is in the middle of game one, is the LA Clippers and Utah Jazz. This is going to be a really tough series to choose. I think it can go either way. I think the Jazz got a lot of really good players. The Clippers are currently up by 8 right now at the beginning of the third quarter, 60-52. Um, I think I'm going to take the Jazz in 7 games. I want to take the Clippers because I really love Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but Paul George is really just hot and cold all the time. And the Jazz just have Donovan Mitchell and then a lot of just like players that are really good at one thing, which really melds together very well. Because you got guys on the floor that all specialize in different areas: 3 point shooting, defense, offense, whatever the case may be. They all specialize in one area and they do a very good job at it. And when you combine all that on the same floor, it just really melds together and makes you very tough to stop with all those options out there on the floor at the same time. But I'm going to take the Jazz in 7 just because of how good the Clippers are themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to go Jazz. Which I didn't realize. Luke Kennard was on the Clippers. He's doing pretty good for them right now. He's got 11 points. So that might be one of the reasons why the Clippers are up right now. Is because Luke Kennard.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we have such a strategic team set with Jazz are. One is really good at one thing, and then another, and then another, and then another. You can just go to guys on the bench and just you go fill in and do this job because I know that you can do this job, and I don't need you to do anything else but this job. When you have guys like that in your team that can just fill in just like that, I think the Jazz are going to find a way to win the series, even if it might be tough. It might be tough because obviously it's the Clippers and they got Paul George. They're going to try to be the heroes of the series. But I like the role players on the Jazz a little bit better than the Clippers.
Yeah, I think this will for sure be a really fun series as I see Donovan Mitchell drain a logo three and go straight to the basket with ease. So he seems to be having himself a day. And the last series of today will be the Phoenix Suns And Denver Nuggets, I'm going the Suns in six. I mean, just how they played against the Lakers. I think because of how good Nikola Jokic is, the Nuggets will give the Suns a little bit of a fight. But just because of what I saw with the Suns up against the LA Lakers, I don't see how you can pick against them. So I'm going Suns in six.
Yeah, I really don't see I Jokic just has to like literally and become
A
a god
god.
himself. Yeah, essentially, that is what Jokic has to do because the Suns have just found their stride. They have found their stride ever since Devin Booker, Chris Paul had a really good game. He had a double double, 21 points, 11 assists, and he had 6 boards as well. But I think the Suns have really found their groove, and they're going to take this one. I didn't say my prediction yet, have I?
I'm sorry?
I didn't say my prediction yet, have I?
I don't think so, no.
No, I really can't see it. Really, I mean 5, 6. I'm gonna go 5 to be different from you.
Why am I not? Are my predictions not good enough for you?
I don't know. Sometimes they've been one game off, and I was right on that one game. So you never know.
I suppose not. Well, that'll be it for us today. We'll go over this hopefully next week, as long as we don't have another technical problem approach us this time. We'll
Smilesy.
but we'll be doing an MLB video now. We did record one, but we might just have to go over the records again and just make a new one because it took me 2 weeks to end up uh, doing editing the NBA video that I just did. That is now uploaded. I think I got out this morning or yesterday, one of the two. But obviously, it took way too long to do that NBA video, and by the time I get the MLB one done, it'll be like 3 weeks overdue. But I have a way that I can do the MLB episode that I won't even need to edit at all, so that'll make it much easier. We'll best be going over records. Expect that episode within the next week here. But anyways, that'll be it for us. Our next episode will actually be an NFL off-season episode. We'll be going over the NFC North and AFC North. Basically, all their off-season stuff, what's been happening. So yes, we'll be starting with the Detroit Lions and their real misery. um, that'll be it for us. Yeah, but that'll be it for us. We'll be seeing you in a couple days. Till next time.